Hi, I'm Robert Shadbolt. I run the illustration pathway here on the graphic design course at Salford. I've been practicing as an illustrator for probably about 25 to 30 years. I've always taught as well as part of my practice, and I find that teaching and working as an illustrator complement both activities. The graphic design students choose their pathway at the end of the first year. In the second year in illustration, we try and focus on the range of uses of illustration within a commercial context. These range from books to posters to packaging design to designing stuff that will be used on websites and digital media. I guess the key difference is, in terms of illustration, is that the illustrators are normally responding or interpreting a text. So the very first project that we do is a narrative brief, and we generally work with something like a fairy tale and reinterpret it for a contemporary audience. Other aspects of illustration that we look at is that illustrators quite often these days are much more authorial in terms of the content of their work, meaning they're not necessarily working for a client, but they're originating and starting their own projects. This will actually lead on to commissions in their own right, so it's very important to encourage the illustrators to have their own voice and have their own point of view and have things that they want to say that will draw in an audience and essentially provide them with material that they can either sell and exhibit, or they can actually get commissions through the work that they've done. This is an example of one of the narrative briefs. This was a reinterpretation of Hansel and Gretel, and essentially Josh, one of the students, has reinterpreted it and set it in space. One of the nice things about the work that we do, I mean, in the past, when I studied illustration, it was very hard to bring your work to a finished conclusion because we didn't have computers, we didn't have digital printers, etc. So one of the nice things that we can do here now is actually illustrate a book and actually show it as a finished product. We do have outlets for these, so where we are positioned here in the northwest, there's quite a range of book fairs and zine fairs, so we take these things out into the area, and we actually find an audience and sell these things and show and share our ideas with other people. There are a great deal of opportunities for the illustrators to sort of get involved with business and industry in the Salford, Manchester area. We have a number of projects and they vary. At the moment we're working with the Salford Gallery, and we're working with an artist that's put together an exhibition based on 1984, and all of the illustrators have been doing their interpretations of 1984 that will be part of an exhibition that's happening in January. We've also got one of the illustrators, we took part in the Manchester and Salford Illustrated competition earlier in the year, and one of the illustrators has been picked up and has been doing a work placement at Creative Spark for the last month. Essentially there's tons of opportunities. We've just been working on a project with the John Rylands library, so again they've been developing, there was an invitation to design a character for John Rylands library, and they've been working on characters which was based on a dragon that was part of the library architecture. Illustrators normally work in a freelance capacity, so it's actually quite an interesting job, as unlike a communication student who potentially could work freelance. Quite often they will go into a company and work there for 2 or 3 years and be restricted to the range of projects that that client was or company was working on. With the illustrator, when they're preparing their portfolio for leaving, they'll have like a good portfolio that will cover a range of potential uses. So illustrators can work in publishing, so they would work for newspapers and magazines, and this is where they're interpreting text. We've got an illustrator this week who's got work in the Times Higher Educational Supplement, which is out this Thursday, and he's been doing that on a regular basis. I'm noticing that a number of the illustrators finding placements within graphic design groups, and it's a good way of picking up an understanding of the context and the way jobs are commissioned and used. But ultimately, they will go out and work as a freelance person, and they'll work in advertising, publishing, etc., etc. Or one other thing that is always worth considering is like postgraduate education. So quite often, certainly, there are a number of well-established MA illustration courses around the country, and I've had a number of students go to those destinations, and that just consolidates what they've done here at Salford. Salford is in a unique position. It's very close to the second largest centre for the creative industries. It also provides a fantastic environment for an illustrator to develop their skills and the subject matter of their work. Again, I think I've encouraged all of the illustrators to actually use Salford as a subject for their work. So they do go out and they draw the people and the places in Salford, and that has worked. Essentially, one student last year had got his drawings of Manchester and Salford on his website, and The Guardian were commissioning for the Manchester Festival supplement, and essentially they contacted him because he'd used Manchester as a subject of his work. So again, it's just an example of making your work unique, making it about something